YouTube? What's going on, YouTube? It's been a minute, but no, it hasn't really been a minute. 2 days is like 2 weeks in YouTube years. But the thing is, Dragon's Dogma just dropped. No, not Dragon's Dogma. iGameNot dropped a video on Dragon's Dogma. And you guys know I've been making Dragon's Dogma videos ever since I got turned on to it. I didn't even know this game existed. So I've just been watching it until the lead up of this launch, which is next month already. Shit is crazy. But what we got here today, we got iGameNot with a video. I guess they got to play 10 hours of this game, which is fucking nuts. 10 hours is a long ass time. But apparently it's nothing in this game. This game is supposed to be big. These are one of these games where you can put over 100 hours in. So 10 hours ain't shit. It's just to get your feet wet so that they can talk about what they're talking about. This is the final preview. So I don't think we're going to see anything after this, which I'm kind of glad. Because we got all next month to build up the hype for this game upon release. And after that, I'm not touching nothing. I'm playing Tekken 8 right now. I'm probably going to play Tekken 8 after this. I'm probably going to stream it. But I'm playing Tekken 8 right now. Hopefully that gets me through this entire month until this game comes out. Because after this game comes out, I'm not touching nothing. I'm just going to be playing this because I have not played the first one. So I got to play catch up with this. And I want to see what this magic is all about. Because people have been telling me about this. And they saying, bro, you just do not know what you're missing. And they really wanted me to go play the first one. But I didn't want to do that since it's not canon to the second one. So I don't have to. But yeah, without further ado, I want to hop into this. This is going to be a 10-minute video. And I just want to see stuff new. I just want to see new stuff and more of what I've seen before. I'm already sold. So I'm going to buy it regardless. So without further ado, let's hop into this. And yeah, let's check this shit out. Here we go, the final preview. I'm ready.
I thought it would be a simple side quest. The owner of an apothecary enlisted my help to find his lost grandson who had been taken by wolves.
Oh, you know
As
that
I
was
followed
going
the
to go
trail,
crazy.
I heard a screeching noise from up above.
Oh, what the fuck?
All of a sudden, I'm in a battle for my life against a griffin. It's a monster that's far too strong for my party to handle, but we fight and claw and hold our ground until finally we get it to retreat.
Wow.
I breathe a sigh of relief, then set up at the nearby camp and sleep till nightfall. That sleep is then interrupted by the same griffin back for revenge.
Get the fuck out of here. It came back?
That fight somehow boils over into another battle with a white, who proceeds to beat me within an inch of my life before I finally take him out, just as the sun rises after an epic 20-minute battle.
Look at that. And that wasn't even the side quest. That was just some random shit.
I'm not sure what.
I already know I'm gonna spend hours in this game. I'm not touching nothing. I'm just touching this.
None of this was part of the actual quest involving saving the boy. It was just a series of events that cascaded into one of the most unforgettable encounters I've ever had in an open world action RPG. And it was just one.
Okay, people got mad at me when I kept saying this or Elden Ring. I mean, I think that this is gonna be better than Elden Ring. I don't think that's too far-fetched anymore. I just know potential when I see it. This game just has potential written all over it. It got Game of the Year potential just written all over it. I already can tell. And how he's talking about it already, that's the magic that most of these games that last for decades and generations have to have. Period. What he just explained right there.
Of the incredible encounters I experienced during the 10 hours I spent adventuring through Dragon's Dogma 2's fantastic open world.
Wow. This already gonna be a 10 out of 10. They're gonna give it a 10.
While I didn't get to start from the very beginning, I did get to begin with the creation of my own pawn. Pawns, for those unfamiliar with the first Dragon's Dogma, are AI-controlled companions that gain gear, skills, and experience from your game.
Where's your
and then
pants?
take all that with them online where they can be hired by other players to be companions in their own games.
That's crazy.
I'm not going to spend too much time on either pawns or character creation, especially because we've already made those videos. But what I will say is that pawns are integral to one of my big takeaways, which is that exploration and discovery in Dragon's Dogma 2 feels much more natural than ever before.
Wow.
First and foremost, there are no more quest boards. There are no markers that appear above people's heads letting you know who's got a quest.
I don't know
and
that.
any sort of symbols placed on your map to let you know of points of interest.
Look how big this fucking map is. Hold up a second.
Feels much more natural than
this.
ever before. First and foremost, there are no more quest boards. There are no markers that appear above people's heads letting you know who's got a quest, and any sort of symbols.
Look at this shit. This is where he's at right there. And you see all this over here. That's probably like not even 10% of the map. God damn.
Placed on your map to let you know if points of interest are kept to a minimum.
That's
As such,
crazy.
you'll really rely on your pawns and NPCs to guide you through Dragon's Dogma 2's world. NPCs will, more often than not, be the ones to approach you with opportunities for side quests, as opposed to it being the other way around.
That's different. God, that's different.
Happen to have seen a pretty stone.
You there! Did you see an urchin in a cap?
Pawns will also point out objects of interest,
Just yonder looks to be a good spot for harvesting ingredients.
boulders that
Wow.
can be destroyed to find a path that leads to treasure,
If you need that destroyed, I'm your pawn. Shall I assist?
Yes.
or if they already have knowledge of a quest from their owner's game, they will straight up lead you to those quests if you give them the go-ahead. All of this
Where is this possible at? What game does this besides a fucking MMO? None. Elden Ring had the little ghost thing, you know, that would lead you to the caves and stuff. That's about it. But this type of game mechanic is not common at all. This does not exist in most games, period. That's crazy.
leads to a style of exploration and adventuring that feels very organic and appropriately rewarding, very much in the same way that Elden Ring and the two most recent Zelda games do.
Told you.
As alluded to in the intro to this preview, you
got
also
fucked
never
up.
really know what to expect once you set out to pursue a quest lead. The very act of exploring beyond the safety of a city's walls is unpredictable,
He carrying
dangerous, and enticing, which is why it's so exciting.
He taking them away? Where are you taking them to?
Over the course of my 10 hours, I got to play with a total of 5 vocations: Fighter, Mage, Warrior, Sorcerer, and Trickster.
Oh, he got a
which
lot
you can
done.
watch a whole other video all about. Unlike the first game, which had you unlocking advanced vocations simply by leveling up the base ones, the 2 advanced vocations were actually unlocked via a quest. After visiting the Vocation Guild, I was given a quest to retrieve a greatsword and an archstaff, and after doing so, I unlocked both the Warrior and Sorcerer vocations.
Wow.
I don't know if all of them will be unlocked this way, and I didn't get a chance to unlock any of the hybrid ones, like Mystic Spearhand or Magic Archer, but I definitely like the idea of not having to grind vocations in order to unlock others. My personal
okay.
favorite of the vocations I got to try was by far the Warrior, who maintains the fantasy of being the great sword-wielding badass that brings giant beasts to their knees with just one charged strike,
Love
but
it.
also adds a few
Look
more
at
tricks
that.
to their repertoire. Director Hideaki Itsuno heard feedback that the Warrior didn't feel like a super viable vocation in the first game, and thus worked hard to give them some new elements to bring out their strengths.
I'll say I didn't know
For
that, okay.
starters, we've jacked up the Warrior's offense and destructive power,
Nice.
to the point where it's unfair. In exchange, its abilities take a little longer to execute. This makes the vocation somewhat difficult to use, but that's where the tackle comes into play. If you're attacked, you can use the tackle to cause an enemy to be stunned instead.
They play Monster Hunter. That's straight a Monster Hunter thing. They got the same thing with the Great Sword, and then you can do the tackle through attacks. That's literally Monster Hunter.
Of being stunned yourself, making it easier to get into the vocation. The tackle he's referring to is a new ability called Barge that allows the warrior to execute a quick shoulder bash, even while they're charging an attack, to interrupt and potentially stun any enemy that's trying to stuff their attack.
Nice.
The vocation, after all, is built around being able to charge up massively powerful attacks that deal humongous damage.
Yeah.
So this small change goes a long way in making it a little easier to get those big shots off. My favorite new addition for the warrior, though, is a passive skill that allows you to swing regular attacks much more quickly if you're able to precisely time your next button press with when the attack actually lands.
That's just
This
engagement
gives a
right
nice
there.
rhythm to the warrior's combat
Yep.
and allows a skilled player to compensate for the typical weakness of having a very slow attack, while still making those very slow and powerful attacks still feel like they have their own place in the warrior's skill set.
That's gonna be
Also,
a skill
if you're like
ceiling.
me and enjoy the feeling of leaping off cliffs and slamming your weapon down on a monster's head, this is the vocation for you.
Straight Monster Hunter.
I
I'm a mounter.
unfortunately didn't get deep enough into the Sorcerer vocation to see any of the really big, crazy spells that they're so beloved for, but what I
Wow.
really enjoyed about the Sorcerer was the addition of a unique skill called Galvanize. This allows you to go into a stance that recovers your stamina extremely quickly, which is especially useful for the sorcerer due to the fact that their spells take so long to cast.
True.
To shorten those spells, you need to use a skill called Quick Spell, which allows you to spend stamina to reduce a spell's cast time. All of this leads to a careful balance of preparing to cast a powerful spell, using Quick Spell to shorten its cast time, and then making note of whether you have enough stamina to cast another spell, or whether you have to break away and use Galvanize to get your stamina back up. It's a fun dance that made Sorcerer feel a lot more active than in the past.
That's cool as hell. And then it can fly too. The Sorcerer can fly as well.
Dragon's Dogma 2's open world is enormous, reported to be roughly 4 times the size of the already huge map in the first game. And I don't doubt that claim in my experience of checking out the map and wandering through just a small portion of it. It's big, but it's also dense, with exciting encounters both on and off the beaten path that were paced nicely so I wasn't constantly slowed down by back-to-back battles, but I also never went too long without having something to engage with. One thing that was important—
How can you have your map as big as The Witcher? The Witcher is literally the only game that can pull that off. They do the whole, like it's big, but dense type thing too at the same time. Very few games can do that. Fallout is not big, so I'm not even going to use that as an example. Skyrim is mainly the only thing I could think of. Skyrim, Elden Ring, and Breath of the Wild. Those are the big three where they have humongous maps, but it's just dense and full of shit to do. It's not mundane, and it's random things that happen that just get you to go off the beaten path and just do different things. This is going to be another game that's going to have people lost in there. They're going to be lost in this game for literal years. Just looking at that map before, it's fucking huge, for real.
To Eat Snow and the team at Capcom was making sure that the players really felt the distance that they were traveling as they explored. To that end, fast travel is very limited, like in the first game. You can only travel between discovered port crystals, and every time you do, you must expend a fairy stone, which are highly valuable items that don't come cheap and aren't easily found.
Love it.
Another option you have for getting around is using an ox cart, which is relatively cheap, but they are limited in the fact that you can't choose where you travel.
Really?
The main one that I found only went from the capital city of Vernworth to the checkpoint town, which was far to the west.
That is so realistic.
You also have to consider that ox carts are not a completely safe way to travel, as they often will be ambushed by all manners of beasts.
Wow.
Of course, you can just hoof it on foot, which is where you'll truly feel the weight of that distance, especially due to the new health restoration mechanic known as the loss gauge. In the first game, you'd be able to heal your entire life bar by using health restorative items, and recoverable gray health with spells.
Okay.
In Dragon's Dogma 2, however, every hit diminishes a portion of your max health.
Wow.
And the only ways to restore it are either by finding a campfire to rest at, or returning to an inn and resting for the night.
Stakes. Those are stakes like crazy. That makes going out to the open world just feel like a task. Not like a task in a bad way. It makes it actually dangerous. And that's the thing that I don't think a lot of people understand when it comes to exploration, when it comes to games and stuff. You want to feel like going out is actually going to be something that you have to look out for. Elden Ring did this perfectly, to where like you get to go out, you get to, once you get hit, you have to use your flask, but they're gone permanently until you kill a group of enemies, and then you can gather your stuff back. But if there's stakes in the open world itself, that's just going to solidify the fact that it's just replayability. It's constant stakes to where you're on edge. It don't matter if it's a long distance or not. You still feel the challenge. That's the game itself. It's just you going from point A to point B, and it's not just a walk in the park. You can't just walk there just enjoying the view. I like that. That's beautiful. And then you have to watch out for nighttime too. That's what makes nighttime bad. So yeah, that's perfect.
If you rest at a campfire, you can also cook some meat and get some much needed buffs, in addition to restoring all of your life.
This is
but
literally
there's a risk
exploration.
involved with resting at a campfire as well.
Wow.
The flames may attract monsters to your campsite, and as I mentioned at the beginning of this preview, you could actually wake up to an angry griffin coming back to finish what it started.
That's crazy.
What it all comes down to is this. Virtually every action in Dragon's Dogma 2 has some combination of a cost and a risk tied to it.
Love it.
Fairy stones are risk-free travel, but they come at a very steep price. Ox carts are a low-cost but moderately risky method of travel, and traveling on foot is free, but extremely risky. Then you must also consider whether it's worth it to press on in a questline with low max health, or backtrack to a town to resupply, whether you should avoid fighting the giant tanky ogre, or risk it all on trying to bring it down for both the experience and rare material reward, whether you should keep on the less dangerous beaten path, or take a detour into the unknown.
Wow.
In the 10 hours that I played, these were very compelling decisions to have to make. But the real test will be whether those decisions remain compelling or turn exhausting in hour 20 or 30 when the map has expanded dramatically and you still have quests remaining to complete in a town that you're super far away from. Hypotheticals aside though, I love just about every moment that I spent playing Dragon's Dogma 2 during this preview window. It doubles down on everything that I loved from the first game, makes some smart improvements to the way quests are handled and how you explore its giant world, and the little taste that I got of the Vocations is a tantalizing reminder of why Dragon's Dogma is one of the best in the genre when it comes to delivering on the various power fantasies tied to the classic RPG archetypes.
Yeah, this is
Even after all I played, I still feel like I just scratched the surface on what Capcom has in store for players when Dragon's Dogma 2 releases on March 22nd.
March 22nd, can't come close enough. When IGN talks like that, you already know they're going to give it a 10. It's going to be a 10 straight up. I already knew this from the very beginning, from the first preview that I seen. I already knew this game was going to be like Game of the Year material. And you know a game is good when you feel stupid for not trying out the first one. And I felt like I completely missed out. That's a feeling I like and I don't like at the same time. Because now it feels like I'm catching up to something that was already a staple. And I just had no part in it to begin with, because I was so stuck in Skyrim. But I can play it now. But I just don't have that same experience and that thought process like how somebody who played the first one would. Because they're all telling me that I would suggest you just play the first one just to see the systems. I just do not feel like, I just don't want to do it. I don't know what's not making me, I got the game on my system. I'm just not going to do it. Because it's so close right now. It's literally what, like 24 days away? That's going to be here before you know it. And plus, I got Tekken to play too, so shit. This game is going to come out before you know it. And when it does, I'm going to be streaming it, and I'm going to be covering this game like crazy. So yeah, be prepared for that. Whew. This game is going to be crazy. Better than Elden Ring. I said it again 3 times. Peace out.